So picture this. You wake up one morning, birds are chirping, the sun's shining, and you think, wow, what a beautiful day to absolutely die of something preventable. Congratulations, you've just been isekai'd straight into the Dark Ages, a time period where human existence was basically one giant try-not-to-perish challenge. And spoiler alert, you're not winning. Let's start with the obvious, sanitation, or as it was known back then, some vague rumors about washing. Bathing was considered suspicious, like you were trying too hard to cheat God's natural layer of filth. Whole towns smelled like a wet goat doing push-ups in a barrel of spoiled milk. People dumped chamber pots into the street like they were feeding the cobblestones, so just walking to the market was basically a game of don't splash the plague water. Shoes were optional. Pathogens were not. Now maybe you're thinking, fine, I'll just stay inside. Bad move, Chief. Your house is a drafty wooden box that doubles as a rat Airbnb. The walls are made of wattle and daub, basically sticks glued together with mud and cow poop. So congratulations, you're now living in a bacteria terrarium. Heating. Fire pit in the middle of the room, which both keeps you warm and slowly smokes you like a rack of ribs. Carbon monoxide poisoning was basically a family tradition. All right, let's say you survive the first lungful of medieval asbestos. Time for breakfast. Hope you like bread, because you're getting bread. Maybe some more bread. If you're lucky, a thin ale to wash down the bread, because water is basically just a clear disease smoothie. Forget coffee. Caffeine was for rich traders you'll never meet. If you're a peasant, your diet is roughly 80% carbs, 10% hope, and 10% whatever fell off a cart and didn't scream when you cooked it. Still alive? Great, time to work. 90% of the population were farmers, which sounds wholesome until you realize it's just CrossFit, Endless Suffering Edition. You'll spend sunrise to sunset wrestling the earth with a wooden plow, while your lord sits in a stone castle inventing new taxes. Forget tractors, you are the tractor. You are also the fertilizer if things go south. And every harvest is a coin toss between barely enough to live and famine bingo winner. One bad winter, and you're chewing on tree bark like it's a Michelin-starred entree. Maybe you think, okay, farming blows, I'll be a knight. Knights are cool. Yeah, knights are cool the way sharks are cool. Awesome to look at, horrifying to be. First, you need to be born rich, which you weren't. Second, the armor weighs more than your hopes and dreams. And you'll still get stabbed through the armpit because medieval sword science is just built different. If you don't die in battle, you'll probably die from an infected blister. But hey, at least you looked shiny on the way out. Still hoping for a cushy job? Maybe a monk? Sure, if you enjoy transcribing Latin texts for 18 hours a day, while praying that God doesn't smite you for using the wrong ink. Monasteries were cold, damp, and about as fun as a tax seminar, except with more chanting and slightly more rats. And don't think becoming clergy saves you from disease. Monks died of plague just like everyone else. They just had fancier last words. Speaking of disease, let's talk about the Black Death, which is basically Mother Nature's way of speed-running the population down by a third. Imagine flu season, but the flu brings its own marching band of buboes and internal bleeding. Whole villages disappeared like they hit the medieval unsubscribe button. Doctors wore those creepy beak masks stuffed with herbs, which did approximately nothing except make you look like a bird-themed serial killer. Your chances of surviving, about the same as a snowball in a blacksmith's forge. And then there's the law. Medieval justice made modern courts look like a spa retreat. Steal a loaf of bread? Boom, your hand's gone. Accused of witchcraft? Congrats, you're now a campfire activity. Trial by ordeal was a real thing. Like, if you sink in this river, you're innocent. If you float, you're guilty and we'll kill you. Basically, the legal system was pick your favorite way to suffer. Oh, and let's not forget religion. The church ran everything. They decided what you ate, who you married, and whether or not you were allowed to think about science without getting barbecued. Questioning doctrine was like asking a bear if it wanted a hug. Technically possible, but the ending was always spicy, even if you dodged the plague. The taxes, the rats, the drowning trials, and the bread-only diet, you still have one final boss: war. The Dark Ages were basically a centuries-long group project where everyone's strategy was stab first, ask questions never. Vikings might show up to turn your village into a barbecue pit. Neighboring lords might burn your fields just to send a passive-aggressive message. Your only weapon? A wooden stick and a prayer. Spoiler, the stick isn't winning, so let's review. Day 1 in the Dark Ages. Wake up coughing soot, eat bread that's 40% dirt, plow frozen soil until your spine cries, dodge plague water, pray you don't get drafted into a war you didn't start, and go to bed next to a rat named Gerald, who is, statistically, carrying 5 diseases and 1 attitude problem. That's not even counting random fires, freak famines, or the fact that dentistry was literally hope it falls out. You wouldn't last 24 hours in the Dark Ages, and neither would I. The only people who thrived were the ones already used to misery, people who thought a broken arm was Tuesday and bread mold was a fun new spice. So next time you're annoyed that your Wi-Fi drops for 5 minutes, remember, at least you're not wading through human waste while praying a Viking doesn't redecorate your house with fire. Now go wash your hands, eat something that isn't bread, and thank the universe you were born in a time where plague doctor isn't a legitimate career path.